Get a plan. And
Start small.
yeah. And here's
Start.
the thing about having a plan. Who do you admire to be? If you can't figure out who it is you want,
Girl,
then
yes.
who life do you see around you that you
Yes.
would like to mimic? If you
Start
can't figure
small.
it, yeah, if you can't
It
figure
could
it
be
out
the lady
yourself,
down the street. Ooh, I really like her house.
yeah,
It
I
doesn't
like how
have
she
to be
decorates.
celebrity. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be anything big. I think a lot of people get that confused too, because it's like they see all these big plans and all this big stuff going on in the world, but it's perfectly okay to be yourself.
yeah,
If that's
yeah,
not for you, it's okay. Be
yeah,
happy.
yeah. And
Yeah.
listen, remember, even we go back to the what came up in my spirit. So even the apple has to borrow energy from the tree before it forms its own seed,
Mhm.
right? When it forms its own seed, then it has the ability to make its own apple tree, right?
Mhm.
But it comes from something before it could be something, right?
Mhm.
We talked about that. I mean, even we have to birth our kids and they have to live a life and be modeled before they can go create their own life. So it's okay if you don't know how much money you want to make, what your lifestyle is going to be, what your career is. But at what point are you going to start to ask yourself those questions
Yes.
and do the work required to answer them? And the
Yes.
first step, if you don't know, then look outside of you. Who do you see that you're like, man, I really like their life? Now, listen, the thing that's going to pop up for most of us is, are they faking it? Is that
We ain't
real?
worried about all that. Don't
But
worry.
we're
Don't
not
get lost in
worried
the
about that.
details. That ain't
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
No, we can't worry about that, right? Because they're just the frame for the picture that you're going to paint,
Mhm.
right? So when we see individuals, they're just a framework for the your picture. But sometimes we don't got the picture or the frame. At least if I saw somebody's life, I could say, you know what, I really like my first mentor, Stacy. She used to come into the shop. She was always well dressed. I liked how people like respected her.
Mhm.
And at that time, I mean, I did hair and I liked that, but I didn't really have a purpose or like a what I wanted to be. So when I
Yeah.
saw her, I was like, I want to be like her. And it
Yeah.
was other ladies that came into the shop. I'm like, I want to be like her. Like, I like how she hold herself together. Like this, they just had like this regalness to
Yeah.
them. And that was definitely something that I wanted. And so I would like, with Stacy, she became my mentor. But with the other ladies, every time I see them, even today, I'm like, man, I've always looked up to you. Like, you just always had this way about you that inspired me to
Mhm.
want more from my life and to want to do more and be more in who I am. Does that make sense?
Oh no, I had the exact same with the wonderful woman I called my mentor. It was exactly that, where it was like I got around her and saw how she could command a room, and then as I got to know her, knowing like how real she was, and I was like, okay, I can see you can have
Yeah,
both, because that was one
yeah,
of my struggles is, when you're in a corporate environment, like maintaining your sense of self while fitting into that environment. And she
yeah,
was the first example where I saw a true balance. And it was like, okay, how do I do what she's doing?
yeah, yeah. And then ask questions. But when we talk about focus, remember where your intention goes, your energy flows. I got this
Amen.
perfect story for this. Very personal. I was in a relationship for like 13 years. The first maybe 8, 9, maybe even 10 years of that relationship, I had a story about men in general, right? And so I had like emotionally removed myself from the story, right? And every time that individual did something that matched my story, I was like, see, that's why I ain't even emotionally attached. Like, that's why I'm just trying to get my degree, raise my boys, like all of that. And
Mm,
I was so numb towards that year 10. And I was like, I just don't even care anymore. Like, I'm just trying to get my degree, get stable, raise my boys. Like, he gonna do what he want to do, all of that, right?
yeah.
And it was just, I came in with that narrative. I have a dad who definitely teaches me that all men cheat, even to today. Girl, all men gonna cheat on you.
Sound like my
Like
mama.
that's yeah. So you know, so there was always just this little bit of distrust and really needing a man. But what I noticed though is that I only paid attention to those things, right? So I only paid attention to
Focused on the negative.
on the negative things. Like, so I never paid attention to how many times he called or checked up on me. I only paid attention to the times he didn't call and didn't check up on us, right?
Yes.
And I
Respect.
made those things really big. So when we decided to part ways, and that's why I say have a plan, my plan was I learned that what my attention goes, my energy flows. And I'm going to pay attention because we got these boys. I'm going to pay attention to who, one, I'm accepting for the man that he is, but I'm going to start paying attention to the great things he do.
Yeah.
That was my plan. So even when I called my dad, I put my dad on board with the plan like that. If I call you on some what he ain't do, stop me. Stop me because I only want to talk about the things he do great and I only want to talk about the things that I want to start noticing in him. I tell you within 2 years, that seemed like a long time, but it really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Within 2 years, our relationship shifted
Yes.
so much that like he became my supporter of my business. At first, he was like, "You need to go be a therapist. Don't start no business." We had so much conflict, but he became one of my highest supporters in my
Mm-hmm.
business. Even today, it's like, yeah, I believe in you. Like his narrative started to change about me. We developed a great co-parenting relationship,
Yes.
right? But it all was because I stopped paying attention to the things that he didn't do. Now, mind you, he still do that stuff. Like
I
I
can
laugh at
imagine.
it now. I laugh like, man, I remember
Look, man,
that
you
would have
speaking to
made
my
me.
soul because I got
That
an
would have made
exact
me
similar
so.
story with my
Yes,
first
that would have
son's
made me so
father.
upset. Like I would have been crying. I would have been so
But now
mad
you
when he
could
did
just be
that.
like, boy, he
But now
crazy.
I'm just like, boy, you so funny. Like
You so
I'll call you
funny.
back. Call me back, friend. Just get off the phone. But it's because I chose to shift my focus, and I had a clear plan in place on how I was going to shift that focus. When I did that with him, I had already kind of done it with my parents. When I did that with him, then I started to like, okay, Sheila, do it to you too. Have a plan on what you're going to say about yourself and how you're going to see yourself. And stop paying attention to the stuff that you don't have. And stop paying attention to stuff that you're not able to do. Stop paying
Amen.
attention to the stuff you do have and what
Preach.
you are able to do and how accomplished you are. And when I started to do that, when I tell you like my confidence, just my, it ain't even, I ain't gonna even say confidence. I'm gonna say my worth.